or not, as the case may be.
Oh
Yeah, it's just no, it's not working.
no.
Ugh, yeah. Oh, I deleted it. Ah, that was dumb. Anyway, welcome to this week's edition of the Petty and Ill-Informed podcast, where we start the show by making an ass out of myself. Joining me, Niki. Hello.
Hello.
And special guest co-host, filling in for Kevin, Mr. Arnold.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, he is even more British than me. So,
Is that possible?
pretty, yeah, I didn't think so, but apparently so. So, welcome this week. Did you guys have a good week?
Yeah, it was the last week. I'm a primary school teacher, hence the name Mr. Arnold. And it was last week of term. And had a nice last Friday afternoon where we watched The Muppets Christmas Carol, and they all stuffed their faces with popcorn, sweets, and drink, and spent most of the second half of the film just taking it in turns to queue up for the toilets. It was an outstanding end to the term.
That's how I remember the last days of term. Last day before the summer holiday was always the best. Never used to do anything.
My kids aren't very good at not doing anything. No, I mean, if you say to them, have some fun, do some drawing or some colouring, and you can do whatever you want to do, they look at you like you've just asked them to draw a stellar cartography map of a black hole or something. They don't really know what to do with themselves, bless them. So actually having things in place for them is normally a really good idea, even on the last day before the summer holidays. I was saying exactly that to my teaching assistant by lunchtime, saying, you know what, even like right up to the end, we're going to have to do proper lessons, because they just don't know what to do with themselves. They just end up trying to run around because they don't really know what else to do, bless them. Yeah,
well, that sounds like fun time. Poor kids. Primary school, though. What's the oldest student you teach? Like 6, 7?
No, they're older than that. They've turned. Some of them have turned 10. They all turned 10 at some point this academic year, and a handful of them have had their birthdays already. Yeah, so they're not the littlest of kids, but they're pre-teens. You certainly have your fair share of pre-teen hormones and tantrums on the go. Yeah.
At 10?
Oh yeah, you better believe it.
Absolutely. I mean, the girls are already into puberty.
Yeah, we have
Some of them have possibly started their periods already. I mean,
yeah, you have to have all of that on standby. Sort of like towels in the cupboard in case they have their first one. Yeah, just part of providing and safeguarding. Yeah.
At 10?
Yes,
absolutely. At 10, I had already had my period for a couple of years. I was old hat at that. At 10.
Wow. Can't even remember what I was like when I was 10. Didn't think about girls at all.
Yeah, well, you also didn't have blood gushing from your vag, so...
He can't exactly help that, seeing as he doesn't have one.
It's true. Just saying.
Okay. Well, anyway, if we could just move the topic away from that minefield.
We don't want to talk about Niki's box anymore. Is this conversation finally over?
I think that's just for when Kevin's on the show, yeah.
Okay, great.
Anyway, so you guys want to talk about anything before we hit the topic?
Not necessarily.
Anything at all? Floor's open to any issues?
Very interested in this space telescope that's being launched any day now. Yeah, that is really, really exciting. That is going to be able to see light that was emitted from parts of the universe possibly in its earliest times, and therefore gives us a window into history, which is going to be unlike anything we've ever had before. So I'm actually really excited about that. Yeah.
Cool.
Freaking nerd.
Pot kettle, very, very black.
Right.
You're gonna with three D&D sessions a week, you're gonna win any nerd off we have.
It's true. I'm the best of the nerds.
Yeah.
You are queen of the nerdlings.
I mean, I didn't even need to act like it was an insult. It really isn't. I should have said thank you, Niki.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. You are worried about Omicron down there in the old south of England.
Oh, well, it's just with all the regulations are cranking up, it's sort of touch and go whether or not he's going to ban Christmas. I mean, politically, he can't. In terms of safety, maybe he needs to. I don't know. I think it's such a shame that the vaccine isn't doing what it looks like it needs to do. I mean, that's no criticism of the hardworking scientists that develop it, not at all. But it's a bit of a I do believe that it's worth having, and I do believe that it makes the symptoms far less, intense. But it's a shame that it doesn't. It appears very limited so far in its ability to stop the spread of this, especially with these different strains that appear to be breaking out all the time. It is not showing any sign of going away, is it?
Nope. Part of the issue, though, is that coronavirus has been around for a long time, and it's essentially the common colds. Like, it's always going to mutate. There's always going to be mutations of this.
Yeah.
And the more people that aren't vaxxed, the more people that aren't having any kind of resistance to it, or doing anything to stop it, like just, social distancing and stuff, the more opportunity it has to run its course and start mutating again.
Yep.
So
I'd just like to point out that Niki's opinions are her own and not necessarily respected by the Petty and Ill-Informed podcast.
Sorry,
No,
not sorry.
No,
well, I
you're
share your
totally right.
opinions anyway, Niki.
What?
I share your opinions.
Yeah.
So that's 2/3 of the official statement.
No, I'm totally on board as well. I think that the response to this entire thing from some people has been incredibly childish.
Yeah.
The whole point of having a government is to help organize against things like this and wars. And if you just turn around and say, the government doesn't own me, then, just form an army and overthrow it then. Stop whining on Twitter. That's my opinion. I'm just saying. You don't want to get vaxxed, that's fine, but don't get angry at the government for trying to act in our best interests.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I can see why some people are cynical. I mean, I know people who are, and I've got friends who are, but I do nonetheless think they're making the wrong decision. Even though I disagree respectfully, if that's the way to put it.
I'm from America. I have every reason to be suspicious of my country. I mean, we put radiation in Quaker oats and fed it to old people, just to see what would happen. So, I mean, like, if any government's going to put some weird, stupid thing in the vaccination to make it unsafe, it's mine. And yet I am fully vaccinated. I don't trust my government at all.
Yeah. America once dropped a nuke on a populated town by accident.
What was that? The experiment with syphilis. I only found out about that recently. That was terrible.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Oh yeah, we've done really genuinely awful things to people.
Oh, Britain's got its fair share of bloody hands.
Yeah,
as well.
I know too. Yeah.
In the colonial era.
The colonial era. Oh, we were just doing what everyone else was doing. Can't blame us for that. But no, we've done plenty of other terrible things, like the Battle of May Island, letting Coventry get bombed.
It's the Opium Wars with China.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Enslaving a quarter of the globe. We did that as well at one point.
Yeah, charming.
Yeah,
and you still hear sometimes, Oh, I ain't like it used to be. Need to get back to the good old days when Britain had an empire. Yeah. Send them all back. That's what I say. Yeah, well,
the UKIP philosophy.
yeah. Interestingly, just one point quickly. I spoke to a guy in July who was a dad of a girl in my son's class, and we met at a parents and kids beach party. It was great. And he said since Brexit, we have not been able to get the people in to pick the apples that we need to. We can't fulfill our orders to supermarkets, and there's apples going rotten on trees because we can't get the labour that we used to get. And I thought, well, regardless of whether you believe in Brexit or not, there goes instantly they're taking all our jobs argument.
Yeah, it was a silly argument in the first place.
Yeah.
The whole Brexit thing was stupid in my personal opinion, and it didn't get anyone who voted for it what they wanted. Do you know what really confused me about that? It's the swallows that voted for Brexit.
What do you mean by the swallows? Enlighten me.
The people that live in Spain.
Oh yeah.
They came back to England specifically to vote in that referendum, in favour of that referendum, and they are genuinely surprised now that the Spanish government is deporting them.
It's nuts. I mean, ultimately, I think my what's turned out to be my strongest opinion is there's no way it should have been put to a referendum, because there's no way any normal person or even basically anyone can form a properly enlightened opinion. It's far too complicated for 99% of the people voting to understand what it is they're voting about. I mean, I knew I didn't really understand it. So what that means that me and everyone else just had to go on with instinct. And my instinct was very much to stay. A lot of people's instinct was to leave, and no one knew either way what they were really voting for. And the garbage quality of the playground fight debate made it even worse. No one understood enough about that to vote, really. And and therefore it was a really silly thing to put it to a referendum.
They shouldn't have put it to a referendum if they didn't have a plan on how to follow through with it. And they clearly didn't, as the years following the vote proved, was they weren't expecting it to pass, and they had no idea what to do. From the chat, Gabby is apparently thinks the coronavirus isn't even on the chart. Struck by lightning for lying is more likely than COVID. She's not in favour of the vaccine. Controversial opinion from Gabby there. But then that's our Gabby, isn't it? She likes to be controversial. Anyway, we're getting really political right now.
Well, I disagree, but respectfully so. And I understand people's reasoning for not buying in. I can see where people are coming from, even if it's not at all how I feel myself.
Fair enough.
Sorry, that's enough of the tree-hugging hippie crap. Should we move on to people drowning in liquid sugar?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Anyone who supports the EU should read 1984. I'm going to disagree, Gabby. I think the EU was a fine idea. The internet has made the world so small that we don't need countries anymore. Countries have become obsolete. That's my opinion on the whole thing. And I realise that, that annoys some people, but that's my honest opinion. We don't need countries anymore. Moving on. Gabby, Nikki, sorry, do you have any final thoughts?
No.
No?
Except for, you calling me Gabby.
I was reading the chat, sorry.
Sure, I see who you really want on the show.
Well, yeah, but she doesn't want to do it, so I'm stuck with you.
I know. Awful.
Do you have any last thoughts?
I said no.
No? Okay.
No, we're good to go.
All right. So, apart from being a sugary treat, Tom, do you know what molasses is good for?
Not really. It could probably be used as a biofuel quite easily, and I imagine. And no, I don't. Not really.
No, you can't think of a fathomable reason why in the late 1910s why Boston had a great stockpile of molasses in a 13,000-ton tub.
What a reason why they had that? I don't know. They were. That is such a huge. I can't even visualize how much that is and what capacity that and volume that is. No, I'm not sure why they needed to stockpile it on that scale. No,
Niki, do you know?
Adhesive? Question mark.
Adhesive? Question mark.
Uh-huh.
No.
Maple syrup. Syrup. They're gonna use a syrup as sugar.
No.
No.
Is it animal feed or something?
No, not animal feed. The answer surprised me, and I will be genuinely surprised if either of you get it, because I didn't see this coming.
It's not used in construction somehow, like tarmac, is it?
It is used in construction, kind of. It's used to construct things, but not tarmac.
Beyond it making something a confectionery that you could eat, I don't really know. Not some sort of perspex plastic or a window or something. Something transparent, translucent. I don't know. I'm clutching at straws.
Okay. Would you like to know the answer?
Yes, please.
Well, it's because molasses can be refined into ethanol. And ethanol was used in the city of Boston in munitions construction.
Oh.
And this is 1919, remember, right after the Great War.
Okay. Wow.
Ethanol.
So, ethanol. So ships would come in with a large amount of molasses, dump it into this huge, like a water tower, basically, of a huge cylindrical drum, and they would just leave it in there, and it would be refined into ethanol, which they would use to make guns and weapons. Which shocked me. Yeah.
So when you mentioned, that this was going to be the topic for tonight, I thought, I think I read the Wikipedia article on it several years ago, and I remember it staying with me. So yeah, back to you, Richard.
Right on. So so as I said, I'm painting a scene. They use this molasses to make munitions, and it's sitting there in a big drum in the middle of the city. And it's cheaply made, because obviously it is. Whenever a corporation does anything, they spend as little money as possible, even back then. And it leaks and groans, and it makes all these nasty noises. And so, but people in the town get used to it, right? Now, this happened right in the middle of winter. Yeah, the temperature had dropped suddenly, and it was all was all frozen, and then the temperature rose. And you know what happens to metal when it's cooled and then heated up? It starts bending.
Brittle.
Yeah, brittle. And in the middle of the day, suddenly it was making its weird noises as usual, but then there was suddenly ping, 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 and it was the rivets on the side of the tub exploding out from it. And a couple of people were actually killed by the rivets firing out into the town. And then the whole thing collapsed slowly, and this huge wave of molasses just poured over the entire city of Boston. I mean, that must have been scary. Can you even imagine? I've got a pretty good imagination, but I can't even picture in my mind what that would have looked
like. How slow that would have looked like. Because it's not like it's going fast. It's
Yeah.
molasses. If you died during this flood and you weren't directly below this molasses tower, I'm judging you. Because what? It's like, oh no, look at all that molasses. We've got like 10 minutes before it's here.
It'd be like you'd have to stand there and scream for like
Right.
20 minutes. Just be like, ah, ah.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I can't. I'd need to see the size of the tower before, to be able to even have an attempt to visualize the size of the wave.
Size of the tower. Well, let's have a little look. See, the molasses tank stood 15 meters tall and 27 meters in diameter.
Right.
Imperialist.
Oh, you want that in feet? Sorry.
Yes, please.
You want that in feet? Okay, sorry. It's 50 feet tall and 90 feet
Ooh.
in wide.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Guess who paid attention in transferation class? That's a word I just made up.
Also known as math?
No, because you're like, here you go. There's a picture of the tank. And
Transferation 101.
transferation 101. This is how you transferate between feet and meters. Yeah. Anyway, so there's a picture of the old tank on the screen right now for you.
Whoa. Okay. That's what it looked like. Okay.
That's huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so imagine that just slowly collapsing, and then because it's molasses, it would have been able to hold its shape for like at least a couple of seconds. So there'd be this huge cylinder of
Cylindrical?
molasses. Cylindrical. I don't know words. Leave me alone.
I'm trying to help you.
Cylindrical of molasses just standing there for like 2 or 3 seconds, and then slowly.
Hold on, so it
Spreads
would
out.
be cylinder of molasses. Cylindrical is like you'd have to say like cylindrical building. It's an adverb.
Do you get the gist
or
of what I'm
adjective.
saying?
Yes, I'm sorry.
So yeah, so anyway, before I was rudely interrupted,
I'm
a
just trying to help.
shape that me and Nikki can't quite figure out would have sat there for a few seconds and then just slowly melted all over the entire town, city. I've just thought Boston's where they had the Tea Party as well.
Mm-hmm.
So a large amount of the molasses would have ended up in the sea. So that means it had tea and sugar in it.
Delicious.
That would have been a good. Boston Harbor would have been the perfect cup of tea in the summer.
Or if you're from America, the winter too.
Yeah. True that. So yeah, the whole town is just absolutely covered in this stuff. 27 people die in the whole thing. A bunch of horses. Nobody thought about the horses. But as Nikki said, I didn't really think about that until now. But in order to have been, unless you were directly under it, it's really on you.
Not really. Well, I mean, like you have a little bit more than being directly under it, but it's still like if you weren't within a small vicinity of it, then yeah, you dying is kind of like that's on you, buddy.
Did have you got any numbers like about the speed of the flooding or the size or anything like that? Like what speed the molasses was traveling at?
35 miles an hour.
Oh,
Well,
so
you could be taken out from that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
well, yeah.
That would have been because of its density, and because it would have had all that potential kinetic energy built up from the tank.
Yeah.
The tank explodes, so it's just like.
Yeah, so
I
I'm
mean,
not going to judge people now.
You
Okay,
can't.
Niki.
It's just you can't imagine that a wave made of something that thick and is it viscous? Is the word viscous for something that's really thick and sticky?
Yeah, yep.
That's
Yeah, I mean you
Niki.
can't
He's the word.
imagine.
Gravity. Yep.
It's just impossible to imagine. I mean, okay, look, molasses. When you pour golden syrup out of a tin that you buy at your supermarket or your grocery store, is that molasses? Is that what it is?
No, it's
I don't
thicker
know.
than that.
Or is it a dark brown in color?
Yeah, it's dark brown, thick. It's more like treacle than.
Oh
than
yes,
syrup.
right.
Yeah, I
So,
was about to say, like, whenever I get it, because I'm in the South, though, it comes in a tin, and they have a stick. It's not like a spoon. It's literally a stick, and they just stick it in there, and then twist it a couple times and come out, and it takes forever for it to drip down from the stick onto bread or whatever.
oh, I think Richard, it's probably more like what we would call black treacle.
Yeah, it's more like treacle, but dark
Ooh.
brown.
I mean, okay, so drowning in that, no thanks.
Yeah, no, that would be a horrible way to go.
I mean, it's like something nasty from a particularly gruesome episode of Game of Thrones. Drowning somebody in something that thick and viscous is there's a nasty brutality about it somehow.
Oh yeah, because once it gets a hold of you, you're going nowhere very fast.
Yeah.
Literally, you're stuck.
Yeah.
And even if by some miracle you get out of it, you're going to be that horrible sticky feeling where everything, is all, your skin's all sticking together and you're going to stink and there's going to be nothing you can do about it.
I think.
Oh no, I mean it's not like it's tree sap necessarily.
Have you ever had treacle on you? It's horrible. I had to use it to make Christmas pudding recently.
I've only ever had it on my fingies, in which case I just sucked it off. My answer to everything. I decided to make the joke before you did. How's it feel?
I wasn't going to go there out of respect for Tom.
Absolutely whatever.
Out of respect for Tom, I wasn't going to go there. I was going to take the high road.
I was just going to shut up and no mistake.
You brought yourself down with that one.
Nope, I was just
pick your mind up out of the gutter, Robinson. What's wrong with you?
You're sounding a little bit bitter there, Richard. Because I took away your thunder. I stole it.
We are English gentlemen. We would never entertain.
There is no such thing as an English gentleman.
You're being a rather uncouth cad right now, Niki. And
Tom is literally the most gentlemanly Englishman I've ever talked to.
Oh, I'll take that, Niki. Cheers.
You're a sweetheart.
Oh, thanks.
Wow. 20 years we've known each other, and this is the respect I get.
Oh, yeah, you're a real gentleman.
I am.
A proper gentleman.
Exactly. I respect women's equal rights. That's why I never open doors for them or pull chairs out for them or anything.
Yeah, you
they
pull
are
chairs
equal
out.
to.
Yeah, he pulls chairs when they're trying to sit down. That's what he just whoop.
Yeah, you pull the chairs out from under him. I'm with you, Robinson. You got this.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Anyway, I had hoped with Kevin gone we could avoid the picking on Rich thing and stay on topic, but apparently not. Apparently you're the problem child, Niki. All right. Okay.
Come on, guys. Don't make me do my Ned Flanders thing and get you all to peace up and everything.
Your Ned Flanders thing. Okay,
now
you've got to do it. Yeah, you've got to.
I'm notorious for sitting on the fence and avoiding conflict like a complete pansy. Yeah, man.
Ooh.
Yeah, don't look at. I'll have my friends backs all the way, but in terms of strong opinions and I'm and thrashing things out, that's not quite my forte. But or dissing anyone, thankfully. So yeah, back to this evil wave that was 35 miles an hour and 40 feet high. Yep.
Yeah, no, you're gonna die. Like, I would have probably stood there and screamed for 20 minutes.
I'd have got my surfboard. Come on, bring that shit. If we're gonna go, we're going in style, baby.
Okay, so I've got actual numbers. Let's see. It was 40% more dense than water. That's pretty dense.
Is it
21
really though?
people.
Can your brain actually, is your brain able to compute 40% more dense than water? Because I tried to think about it in my brainy spaces and it was like, that's a dumb number. Like,
Well, you
what
take
would that even?
water and you add 40% density to it.
Oh, yeah, thanks. But no, can you visualize water at 40% density?
Yeah.
Okay.
Be like if you added a bunch of gelatin to it
Wow.
to
Okay.
40%.
It's like you added 40% gelatin into it.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you get there.
Wow. Okay.
Then it's 40% more dense. Anyway,
Sounds like one of my school reports when I was a kid. 40% more
Uh,
dense.
yeah. So what you're saying is you couldn't visualize it either. Just if someone said, "Imagine water, but 40% more dense," you wouldn't have an idea of what that would.
yeah, it'd be water, but 40% more dense.
Well, I mean, to be honest, imagine sort of when you're going into the sea or something and it's sort of waist high and the feeling that your hands and legs have moving through it. If I imagined that to be more demanding and more exerting a greater pushback on your body to a substantial amount, but not quite double, then you can vaguely pretend to visualize it, can you? Or imagine it? But that's without the water moving, it would be a whole different story. Just the speed that it was coming at just would have oh dear.
Yeah, so yeah, Gabby raises a good point in the chat, that it would be molasses if water was 40% more dense. So
Listen, but I meant if you didn't already know that molasses had that density and someone said, picture water, but 40% more dense, and you didn't know that it was molasses, there's no way that your brain could just go, yeah, all right. What would Epsom salt be? Epsom, well, it is more dense, not viscous, but
yeah.
just
So
saying.
obviously, I wouldn't get to molasses at 40%. I would think that was more akin to golden syrup.
Right. I wouldn't think molasses at 40%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I think that's more dense, but apparently I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So 150 people were injured. 21 people, not 27, and several horses were killed. They were crushed and drowned by molasses or the debris that it carried with it.
What a delicious way to go, though.
Not if you're clonked in the face by a combine harvester or something.
That's true.
That's what I remember from the tsunami in Japan, was just like this water just picked up so much stuff, and it wasn't just water people were facing, it was just like
Cars.
masses of cars and houses and masonry and all kinds of things, just in this abysmal wave of all kinds of things just being pushed at you. Oh dear.
Yeah, that was but Well, you know, a tsunami is kind of like what happened here, only it was
Yeah.
40% less dense.
Wow.
So carry on, Richard.
Well, I'm glad to know that you haven't gotten any less dense while doing all of this research.
Ah, you're clever. That was a good one.
You're welcome.
Do you feel good about that?
No.
No, you don't. So,
Low-lying fruit.
yeah, what? But that's your whole dig. So, obviously, after this event, the town was covered in molasses. Apparently, it smelled really nice, but it got all over the city. Like even stuff that hadn't been touched by the flood, because of how sticky it was dragged in there by rescue workers and stuff. So by the end of that January, the entire city of Boston was pretty much, there was molasses everywhere. So how do you think they got rid of that, Tom?
Okay, they'd have had whoa. I don't know. The you can't exactly scrub it all away. And I don't know what state of matter it would have ended up in as it was all spread out. Would it have at least solidified? I mean, hopefully you're not carting it away in wheelbarrows and just tipping it into the sea.
Yes, it was. It did solidify, and some of it was dug out and sent to an eccentric billionaire called John Hammond, who was able to drill through the solidified molasses and extract the DNA from those trapped within, and he's trying to clone them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Niki got it.
Wow.
Anyone in the chat that got that joke, press 1. But it did obviously solidify. It was still in the middle of winter, so I assume it froze at some points as well.
It was it a warm winter?
By Boston standards, it was pretty average. So come on, how do you think they got rid of all that molasses?
Alan
Hentages was not a fan of that joke, but I think he got it. So,
sorry, I didn't. I'm still trying to figure it out. Who was the name of the person the joke says?
John Hammond. John Hammond.
Right, Jurassic Park. Yeah. With you. Dots joined. I've joined the fucking dots. Right. Sorry, are we allowed to curse on this?
I wasn't going to because of your job and everything, but you kind of.
Oh yeah, there's me putting in all the disclaimers, and it's me busting my own rules. Sorry, guys. I don't think I can be nailed for swearing. The things I could be nailed for, obviously, I would be self-incriminating if I said them. So anyway, avoiding this eternal mass of overthinking, I'm trying to think what how they could have gotten rid of it. I mean, is there some animals they could have got to eat the whole bloody stuff up? I mean,
eat a whole bunch of stuff up.
That's not likely. I don't know.
You don't know.
Can you imagine the ants, though?
The ants, yeah. If this had happened in the summer, they would have had a massive insect problem. But it happened in the middle of winter, so.
Yeah. Who knows? Well, Richard knows. That's who knows.
Yep.
No, I got to wave the white flag and throw in the towel.
Tom doesn't know. Niki, do you know?
No.
No, not even going to try.
I don't know. I'm sure that they don't have pressure washers.
Even if they did, that's a job.
Right.
There's too much of it to scrub up and wash away down the sink. It's not like It's not like
Actually,
someone's spilled a
Tom,
cup of tea.
actually, Tom, that's exactly what they did, kind of. They used a load of sawdust and swept it into the ocean.
Oh. Sawdust to try and absorb it.
Yeah, sawdust to help absorb it, and then they swept it into the ocean. They turned their hoses everywhere. Apparently, there was molasses. You know, the whole place smelled and molasses, and you could still get it on your skin up to 3 years later.
Oh, it would have absolutely infiltrated everything. They'd have built new houses, and the new houses would have been covered in it because the workers would have still been covered in it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like when there's an oil spill and it all washes up onto a beach. It's like, oh.
Only a molasses spill.
Mm.
Killer whales covered in sugary goodness.
I think, like the Titanic, I imagine that there's like, you know, a whole shed load of regulations that would have followed it, you know.
Yeah. After that, they stopped keeping molasses in cheaply made tanks in the middle of cities. They started transporting it directly from ships to the factories where it was refined into ethanol and used for munitions.
Yeah.
You know, it was a great tragedy, but at the same time, it's an interesting footnote in history. The time an entire town almost drowned in sugar.
Yeah, it's an unusual one for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's it's so difficult to imagine what it actually would have looked like. You know, this wave of this stuff. But hey, blimey. So as human beings are so badly have to learn lessons the hard way. Generally speaking, as a species, we're pretty crap at learning lessons the easy way.
It's true.
It's not really our strong suit.
No, I was just watching a documentary on the. I didn't finish it, but a documentary on the Grenfell Tower. You know about that, Nikki?
Nope.
Oh my god, this was massive. And not, oh my god, you don't know it. Just get ready to hear this. There were several years ago, there was a catastrophic tower block fire in the middle of London. And it's not the kind of thing you would think possible in 2021, but it was. It was in an impoverished area of London, a tower block. There was a fire in one of the apartments, and all of the recently installed cladding on the side, which is for insulation and aesthetic purposes. I mean, I don't know why it's there really. That turned out to be combustible. And a whole thing caught fire, a whole building caught fire. Loads of people were given fire advice to stay in their boxes, and because these things were built so that they're all separate boxes, and they didn't think there was any way a fire could spread from one to the other. But this cladding totally ruined that. The whole building caught fire. The fire, there's footage on the BBC News website at the time of firefighters turning up and looking and going, "Oh my god, what the hell are we going to do at that?" The whole thing was ablaze when the first firefighters got there. People were given the wrong advice to stay in their apartments and not try to get out. And so it's a miracle only 72 people died, because that's a huge number.
Wow, that is a massive number.
And there's a documentary, and as it happens, somebody filmed the Everything About Grenfell Tower 2 years before as just a piece of an artist documentary. And there's all these residents in there complaining about this, saying, we don't think this is safe. We're not, trying to voice all kinds of concerns. And I haven't seen it yet, but there's apparently due according to the Week magazine, I'm about to watch a part of this program where the local MP, that's like their Congress representative, their local MP is saying some things which turn out to be, his history has made them turn out to be the most ill-judged words, because she's dismissing all their claims, and within a couple of years the whole thing burns down and people die. So that was on TV about a year ago, and it's just come back on for streaming for people in this country. So that is exactly human beings learning in the very worst sort of way, learning the hard way. But that is a really big deal in England. Do you agree, Richard, that is really, it's really something, it's a big story?
Yeah, it was massive over here. It was a great tragedy. But yeah, it was. I remember when it was on the TV, and then the fallout.
Yeah,
I
mean, probably as big as something like. Trying to think of a comparable news story in America. I mean,
Sandy Hook.
Yeah, Sandy Hook or Columbine or something like that. I'm trying to think if there's because it was a man-made disaster, and so were they. So yeah, actually, something like those buildings that collapsed in Florida, Niki.
Yeah, I know. Sure. Okay.
Probably talking. I mean, how big was that over there?
That's pretty big. Yeah.
When those towers just absolutely collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we knew all about that. And yeah, that's sort of, I don't know if warnings were raised there or concerns were had there. I don't know.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, well, hindsight's always 20/20.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Everybody always knows what to do afterwards.
Afterwards. That's when you know how you should have dealt with the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's beforehand. You really don't know. And if you're an overthinker, you can sometimes think, okay, I'm in a situation, and when I look back at this situation, I'm going to know totally exactly what the right thing was to have done. But right now, there's no way I can possibly predict and project exactly what the right thing to do is.
Yeah, it's a knotty one, and yeah, we may never know. But that is the tale of the Boston Molasses flood. You guys think? Pretty cute.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm. It's really, I don't know how I encountered it originally, but I definitely stuck with me. As soon as he called it tonight, I'm like, yeah, I remember that. But it was exactly what I thought. The story I thought it was. I remember one little extra detail, one sorry story. I can't remember. It's a shadow of a memory, and it might well be just in the Wikipedia article. I don't know. But this, as that one guy was, the thing was just, he was almost where his feet were trapped or something. He was almost tall enough to be okay, and his mouth to be above it, but it was just under, and it was just. He had to keep wiping this stuff away from his face. And in the end, his body just got absolutely exhausted from constantly having to move his arm through these muscles. No, move his arm through these, this 40%
more viscous water
than water molasses. And he died of exhaustion, basically, and drowning.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't know how reliable that memory is, or indeed how they'd know. But that is...
I mean, someone might have been.
I remember.
Someone like Richard. Yeah, someone like Richard could have been watching with their diary, dear journal, instead of helping him. Today I'm watching this dude.
I'm more than capable of doing that. I mean, I'm not getting myself all sticky. I'm just saying. I don't like food on my hands.
I know. Yep.
Gabby asks
to be like, sorry.
Gabby asks, "Hey, new British guy, does your toilet flush clockwise?" Tom's just gone quiet.
What is that one of those things that whether you're north and south of the equator or something?
Yeah, I believe that's the gag.
And I don't know if that's even true or not.
Don't know. I could ask Deb. She lives in Australia. Be like, what? How does your toilet flush? Normally or not normally? But yeah, there you are, Gabby. I think that's the only answer you're going to get. That'll wrap us up for this week, though. We will return next week. No, we won't return next week. Next week's Christmas.
Yeah,
Whoa.
I'm not going to be here.
Nikki won't be here. Kevin won't be here. And I probably won't be in a fit state to do it. So
Oh gosh,
probably feel weak.
Insider. Do I need to look forward to some weird drunk calls or text messages?
No, Nikki, you can't.
Okay, fine.
Might be back in 2 weeks, but again, that's New Year's Day, so I don't know. Might be a while. I'll post in the group, let you all know. Merry Christmas, everyone. Have a great holiday, and yeah, drink irresponsibly and fill your boots with food.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.